Hey, what's up, everyone? What's happening? Welcome to the Normal America Show. I'm your host, robnoerr. I got a small show for you this evening. Give some updates on where I've been and all that good stuff. So I'm glad to be here. For those that don't know, when I'm at my work office, I'm off the clock, but my camera died here, my mobile camera, so you just get the audio. I'll work on getting a better background here, but difficult to stream even when I'm off the clock here at work lately anyways. But I wanted to do it and give everyone an update, and I've missed everyone. I've missed streaming. Had kind of some crazy days here, so give everyone an update on what's going on. I tried to stream car stream on Twitch to kind of update people on what was going on. I put some updates out on Twitter. Thanks, man. It's glad to hear, Achilles. But I think most people don't see that sort of stuff, so I wanted to get a video out there. Back on YouTube, my temporary suspension done for now. I'm sure don't worry, I'll be booted off YouTube again shortly, I'm sure. That's just the way it goes. So it's great to see everyone on all the platforms. I really enjoy talking to you all, and I enjoy streaming. There's been an awful lot that's occurred in the past week and a half since I streamed last. Yeah, I should be on Comfy. I don't know that the app's up and running. Let me check my phone. So if you go to app on the phone, it's app.comfy.stream. Let's see. Let's see if it's up and running. I will check. Otherwise, it's just comfy.stream. Yeah, I'm up on Comfy right now. So yeah, I think you could check me out there, comfy.stream, or if you're on the phone, app.comfy.stream. Should be up there. Thanks for asking, Omni. Yeah, for those that don't know, that is where I'm going to try to do the bulk of my streaming. I'll still be on YouTube. I'll still be on Twitch, Twitter, but Comfy is going to allow me to kind of say whatever I want, whenever I want, and so I don't have to worry about sort of bouncing around platforms. So, yeah, check that out, comfy.stream. All right. So, where have I been? So, the last you heard from me, let's see, I debated Half-Baked Takes. I wrecked him. I debated someone on climate change before that, the day before that. And then I did a little streaming. I was on with Pisco last Saturday. That's where I was. So, last Saturday, not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before was the last day that I streamed. Normally, I don't stream on weekends. I get called into work. So I was able to do sort of an audio-only stream with Pisco until the wee hours of the morning. My normal schedule is I like to stream Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, sometimes on Saturdays. I'm trying to get together with someone to do a Saturday show with me every Saturday. So that's something I'll be working with. And then once in a blue moon, if it can't be helped, I'll stream on a Monday or Tuesday. But you have to understand it's difficult. My job is I do home health care, so I'm at work 24/7 when I'm here. And I get to clock out, but it's still difficult to stream while I'm here at work. My camera died. My internet connection sucks. So it really hampers me. So I figure I usually take Mondays to Tuesday off, do some reading, do some work. But anyways, I streamed Saturday, and I fully intended to stream last Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Had some things lined up. I call my wife almost every night when I'm at work. I do a FaceTime call with her, and I say goodnight to my son. Hank, he will be 2 January 9th, so he's the best. He's a fantastic kid, super active, and like most active kids of that age, has no fear. So he climbs on things. We got him a little jungle gym thing. He's just nonstop. He's a ball of energy. It's fantastic. I've been trying to lose weight, exercise to try to keep up with him, but it is the best time I've ever had in my life, hanging out with my son and hanging out with my wife. It's just every day it's just more and more enjoyable. I just love it. So anyways, Monday comes and goes, no problems. Tuesday, I'm excited. Tuesday nights are always good for me because I know I get to go home the following day unless something comes up. And so Tuesday night I'm getting my work done, and I call my wife, and she doesn't answer, which is fine. But then her mom immediately calls back, and my son had climbed on the couch as my wife was running his bathwater, so she left him alone for like 5 seconds, and he climbed off on the couch and he fell, and he wasn't putting weight on his leg, and so they took him to the local hospital, the ER, and they did an x-ray, and he had broken his left leg, his tibia right below his knee. It was really, I know most of you, well, many of you are probably parents, and so maybe I look like a wuss. That is the first medical issue I've had with Hank. It hasn't really been, a cold here and there, but nothing serious. He's been perfectly healthy. And I kind of freaked out. And I'm stuck at work, and there's nothing I could do. And my wife's at the emergency room with him. And the nature of my job is I can't leave because there are people on the premises that I take care of. So I'm just stuck. So Tuesday night was horrible. I didn't sleep. They got a cast on my man. And then we set an appointment up for Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh the following day. So I got off work, and I got to take Hank out to Children's Hospital. I could talk to you at length if you want, but basically the Children's Hospital said the local hospital, the cast they put on him was terrible because it wasn't a full leg cast. It just went up to right below his knee. It basically stopped where his break was. And they were like, that's just putting pressure on the break. Plus it was a plaster cast, which was very heavy and was putting weight on the leg. So he didn't really sleep Tuesday, and he, it's about a 2-hour drive for me to Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh, and he was not having a good time. And it kind of broke my heart, the poor guy, just watching him in pain like that. So they put a full leg cast on him. He got to pick out what he wanted, and he's a big fan of dinosaurs, so they had dinosaur cast, and it's fiberglass, and he's been very good with it. The pain's basically gone away. The doctor told us that he'll move around. He'll even try to walk, and the way the cast is built, it won't put pressure on his leg. So it'll be awkward for him to try to walk with it, obviously, because it's a full leg cast, but it won't hurt him. And he's just been, ever since he got the new cast on, he's been completely different. He's not in visible pain. And the prognosis, they said it's a very common break. It most of the time happens on trampolines with little kids, and it's because they landed too hard on their foot, and it kind of put like a stress break on his tibia. So he's supposed to be in the cast for 4 weeks, and they're not anticipating, there's nothing, it's not near a growth plate or anything like that. They're not anticipating any long-term effects. He's been sleeping good, but obviously, that was my priority all last week, and so I felt bummed out, even though he isn't in pain. He's such an active kid. It was just different for him to not be able to move around, and he was sort of frustrated. So I wanted to do everything I could as dad to make his days enjoyable, particularly those first days in a cast. And so we did a lot of reading books and watching, TV shows that he liked, and rolling around the ground and playing with blocks and stuff like that. And so I do apologize that I wasn't streaming, but I think people understand when something like that comes up. That obviously comes first. I did put some tweets out about it, and like I said, I went to grab groceries real quick, and I tried doing a live stream just on Twitch in the car, but it didn't really work out very well. So, yeah, if you've wondered where I was, that's where I was. This week I should be able to stream. I don't think it'll be an issue going forward. Obviously, I'll still be hanging out with Hank, but he's good. He's getting used to it. He's not in pain. He's getting more mobile. So I'll answer that in a second, Red. Don't worry. No growth plate. But yeah, I think he'll be fine. The prognosis from the doctor, they were very optimistic. They said it's quite a common thing, that he won't even remember it. He should be out of the cast by Halloween, so we should be able to get some trick-or-treating in. So yeah. Thanks. I appreciate it, Red. Yeah. So, again, I got to get my Discord up and running again. I think I've shut it down long enough that hopefully I'm off the radar of the people that were trying to cancel me. So I'll ask my friends Aftershock or anyone else that originally helped me with that Discord channel, because I'm technologically illiterate, to set it back up so we have a place that we could chat together and I could put updates and things like that. But you can follow me on Twitter at noerr, N-O-E-R-R, at noerr, N-O-E-R-R, and then another R, Robert. So Noerr, R-O-B-E-R-T, at noerr Robert. And I try to put updates there. Hey, thanks so much, Chuckles, for the subscription. I really appreciate it. I'll hang out for a little bit. I probably got till 10 o'clock. I do have some work to do. Yeah, so that's what's going on. Next, order of business. So there is a website called Rally Debates, and the CEO of it reached out to me. Let me see if I can find a link to that. Oh, boy. Well, of course I'm at work, so it won't let me put it. But if you check out, I think it's rallydebates.com. Hank he'll be 2 on January 9th. So he's 1 in 8 months. Anyways, Rally Debates. It sounds sort of interesting. There's some things I like about it, some things that aren't really for me. The guy who's setting it up's trying to have a debate platform where the moderation is as fair as possible and that encourages free speech. So any arguments that people want. And it's set up using Twitter to encourage sort of a call-out type system. And so by joining their website, if you have the Twitter account of someone that you would like to debate, you could use their program and it will help you basically call out who you want to debate. There's interesting things that have been done, such as local elections. So you're running for school board against someone and you want a moderation platform. You could say, I want to talk to the person I'm running against. We have a moderator. This will be the topic. And then there's at least a record of it where if you're running for office and the person refuses to debate, you can see the moderation is basically done almost without a person. So there are mute buttons for each of the debaters. Basically the moderator is there to make sure that that's not abused. They're still working out the kinks, but they wanted someone who has done a lot of debates to kind of jump into the water. One thing that it's not a bad idea, and maybe this will be good for some people, but it's not something I prefer. The debates are all going to be a half hour long. That's not long enough for me. When I talk about a topic, I like to get in depth. Like, not last Saturday, but the Saturday before, I was talking about the Martha's Vineyard thing with Pisco. That was 6 hours. So a half hour. I'll have to choose my words carefully. Anyways, he recommended that there is a left-wing sort of comedian / YouTuber named Justin Freakin. He told me to check out his channel. And he thought it would be interesting if we debated. It seemed as if Justin was interested in supporting the FBI raid of Mar-a-Lago, and so I suggested perhaps the topic of double standards at the FBI. Justin accepted, so that's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. That'll be a half-hour debate, and then afterwards I will probably stick around and just do my normal show. So normally I stream at 9 p.m. Eastern time. This will be an hour prior to that, so check that out, and we'll see how it goes, but it's a topic that I'm comfortable with. Obviously, I will have very little time to prepare, but that's okay. I've been preparing for that topic my entire streaming career. Thanks so much for the subscription. Anyone who subscribed, I'm sorry if I missed it. Thanks so much, Deadly Waffle, for the subscription there. yeah, now there's so much to talk about. I don't know how long I could stay here today. I'm kind of waiting on a work call. Do I have time? I was going to talk about that later in the week. So yeah, there was a situation here in Pennsylvania where there was a guy who would show up outside of abortion clinics and sort of talk to people. I don't know if he was rude about it or polite about it in normal, but there are people that do this, that they show up pro-life or pro-choice outside of abortion clinics. And this was a pro-life person, and he alleges that what had occurred was he brought his son, and that this 70-year-old man who was a pro-choice person kept calling his son a bunch of homophobic slurs and other names, and he kept telling this guy to get away from his son, and the guy didn't, so he pushed him and the guy fell. That's his alleged version of events. What we do know is that person filed a report and attempted to sue Mr. Hoke, and both of those were thrown out. The lawsuit did not go forward, and the charges were dropped by the local police, and yet, using something called the FACE Act, which was designed to stop people from abusing people that are trying to get people into abortion centers, the FBI raided him with guns drawn. This is after he had agreed to talk to the FBI. This is Gestapo tactics. This is just more brown shirt business. They will go after you as a conservative, as a religious person, as someone who's pro-life, as a Trump supporter. They'll go after you with the full force of the FBI, raid your house, guns drawn, but they won't go after Epstein like that. They wouldn't go after Larry Nassar like that as he was raping little girls. They won't go after Jane's Revenge that's bombing Catholic churches and pro-life centers. They won't go after Antifa like that. They won't go after the people that rioted in 2020 all summer like that, including those that were trying to break into the White House with Molotov cocktails to harm Donald Trump. They don't do that. That treatment's reserved for people that are on the right. And what you see is the left makes these excuses, and it's the exact same thing that they always do. It's the same thing when you get censored off YouTube. It's the same thing when the FBI raids your house, which is, well, technically they think you broke the law, and this is within the scope of what they're allowed to do. But what they ignore is the double standard. And if this was Trump's DOJ and it was raiding people such as, that were criticizing the NRA or that were criticizing Kavanaugh, they would be freaking out. Every newspaper in the country would be saying this is fascism. Now, this is occurring simultaneously while a person was just left out of jail after he had ran over and killed a young conservative, and it said that the reason for doing that was because he was a Republican extremist. That person's been left out on bail, not under house arrest. Meanwhile, January 6 people that weren't even accused of violence still languish in prison. There's a report out today that guards zip-tied one of the January 6 defendants and beat him so bad it broke his orbital bone and jaw, and he may lose sight in his eye. Now, this is after Joe Biden gave a speech where he basically said anyone who votes for Trump is a domestic terrorist or an extremist. Now, I've always been one to say, I'm very slow to jump on your words led to violence. And I have a history of this, even when Steve Scalise got shot by a Bernie supporter. I didn't say, well, Bernie's responsible for this. Bernie is welcome to say, we're all going to die because capitalism or because they want to repeal Obamacare. It's nonsense. It can be rhetoric that can inspire people, but I don't judge Bernie for that. But it's not my standard anymore that matters. It's the standard of the left. It's the standard of the Biden administration, of the Democrats. They're the people in charge. And their standard is, well, if you show, for example, that there are hospitals mutilating children, cutting off their genitals or their breast, if you point that out, and there's a threat then that's levied against the hospital, you're responsible. That's the standard from the left. The standard from the left is anytime there's violence that occurs on the right, well, it's because of Trump's rhetoric, or it's conservative rhetoric, or it's DeSantis' rhetoric. Every single time. But when violent lefties go out and do things, they don't say, oh, well, our rhetoric caused this. Their rhetoric is always acceptable. Our rhetoric is never acceptable. And it's accelerating is what's happening. And it's acceptable. This is what the establishment always wanted. It was just the frog in the boiling pot theory. They always wanted authoritarian. They always wanted you under their boot permanently. It's just they were afraid that there wouldn't be enough public support for it. But now it's been accelerated to the point where culturally there are so many people, millions of people on the left now, that would accept you being rounded up and placed in education camps if you don't support the candidates they want. They would absolutely accept it. They wanted all sorts of evil things to happen to you if you refused to take a COVID vaccine, regardless of what you think of the vaccine. Polling showed that, 1/3 of Democrats thought you should not be allowed to have a child in your home. The government should take away your children if you didn't take the proper medications. 2/3 thought that you shouldn't be allowed in public. There are Reddit spaces. What was it? Herman Cain Awards. Mocking people that died that didn't take the medications that they wanted. You go, just the thread I was looking at on Twitter earlier about the January 6th prisoner who had his eye broken by guards. Cheers from people on the left. Good, he deserves it. Yeah, that prison being, it's terrible. It's accelerating. And it won't stop until the people cheering for it face the very consequences that they want on you. Meanwhile, as this is happening, we're inching closer to a nuclear confrontation with Russia. Meanwhile, as that's happening, our economy is becoming unworkable. And the establishment that have been pushing for this, and let's not get it twisted, certainly the Biden administration has a lot to do with it, but they're just one part of a machine. The establishment is inside and outside of politics. And it's been going before the Biden administration. It was going during the Trump administration, and sometimes Trump helped facilitate it, whether knowingly or unknowingly. But they know that the standard of living that we had is not tenable for the future. They have spent too much. There needs to be a great reset. They know it. And so they are doing everything possible to make sure that the people that pay the price under that reset are the poor and working class. And that those that currently have power will maintain and increase their power as the sort of paradigm shift occurs into this globalist future that they want. All of this stuff coming. Corruption that we could see at the FBI. The economy collapsing. And they lie right to your face. Joe Biden's out there celebrating the economy. They're telling you, we never said defund the police. Now they're going to tell you, we never said that you had to take the vaccine. As more and more information comes out that's troubling about it. They're telling you, we didn't say to lock down kids. Now we're inching closer to a conflict. The Biden administration publicly bragged that if Russia invaded Ukraine, how they would shut down the Nord Stream pipeline. Now it appears that someone attacked that pipeline, causing who knows what kind of environmental damage in the ocean there. And the Biden administration's like, what, us? Wasn't us. Must have been Russia. Russia must have blew up their own pipeline. Could be. With these things, whoever knows. But what I do know is, the Biden administration said they were going to do this, and then it happened, and they go, shucks. And they have zero credibility in my eyes. And as I warned, even during the Trump administration, of the encircling of Russia, the bombing Syria, the expansion of NATO, the placing of weapons on Russia's border, none of this means I'm a fan of Russia. I'm not. But it was inevitable that there was a provocation occurring. And I said from the get-go at the beginning of the Russian invasion, I said, even if you're someone who supported encircling Russia, why would you do so when you were dependent on them? As so much of Europe and NATO was, for energy. Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you expand domestic production of energy to the point where you no longer needed to import from Russia before you decided to encircle them and provoke them? They're already looking at historic price increases for energy in Europe. Now what happens if this Nord Stream pipeline's down? I don't know how much energy comes straight from that pipeline, if any. But I know a lot of it came from Russia, and Russia's not going to be too keen to help out Europe after this. Thanks, Touring News. I really appreciate it. And thanks to everyone for the well wishes. If you're just tuning in, my son Hank broke his leg. He'll be 2 here on January 9th. He broke his leg last Tuesday, and that's why I haven't been streaming. He's fine. He's in a full leg cast. They don't anticipate any long-term effects, but he will be in a cast for a month. So that's where I was. I do have insurance and everything, so yeah, I appreciate the donations. I do, but the donations, medically, I'm fine with, keeping up with the medical bills. I could definitely use more technology, more cameras, microphones, computers, stuff like that. And I'm having trouble paying mortgage half the time. Thanks so much. 420 tip. Oh, 10 years ago, I would have been pleased with that. No, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. I do appreciate all the well wishes. Even more than donation, just your thoughts and prayers. It means a lot. It really does. He will be rebuilt. He'll be even more active. So I'm in high spirits. Last week I was bummed, but I'm in high spirits now. Everything going good. So all of these things are conflagrating at the same time. And there's a big Twitch politics sphere. Thank you, Muff Cheese. Appreciate it. A big Twitch politics sphere, What were they covering this past week while I was gone? Anyone? Red asked me about it earlier. What's Mizkiv up to? Thanks so much, Omnilux. I appreciate the cheers. What's XCW? I don't even know these people. Here's my thoughts on all this drama, right? Pretty much all streamers fall into one of two categories, at least political streamers or sort of people peripherally connected to political streaming. They're either shitty people or they're boring nerd people. And most of us are both, myself including. It's just true. I understand. I'm not going to judge people for the type of content that they're into. You could say what you want, but it's getting big clicks. People are tuned in. I guess the only way I could liken it is to, as a lifelong baseball or hockey fan, if you hear that your favorite athlete is involved in some baby mama drama or he's accused of some sort of heinous action, maybe it's interesting. Or your favorite rapper or, musician. It's not really the type of thing I've been interested in my life, but I understand. The drama that I liked was more anonymous drama, like Steve Wilkos or Jerry Springer. I didn't watch those shows a lot, but, a little clip here and there you could find amusing. I really don't give a shit. I don't know who Mizkiff is. I don't know who XQC is. I know Hassan. I know some of the people peripherally. Apparently there was an allegation of sexual harassment or inappropriate sexual touching. I don't know the characters. I don't give a shit to know. My thoughts on it are, there's a hype train. Thank you guys so much. I can't see, when I'm at work here, my computer connection, everything about my computer here sucks, so I can't see things like the hype train and stuff. I can only see what you all see on the screen, so I don't give a shit. I look at it as if there are a million insane things happening politically and culturally right now. Economic problems, lies that we were told about COVID that are now coming, corruption with the FBI, the cusp of a war with a nuclear superpower, an election coming up. Culturally, all sorts of issues, whether you're pro or con of it, cultural issues such as crime waves that are coming, immigration, the Martha's Vineyard story, hospitals and treatments for children involving trans issues, which I have to be careful what I say because I'm on Twitch. So many issues. So many that you can't even keep up with it. If you're streaming hours a day, every day, you can't keep up with it. And what's the majority of left-wing Twitch and YouTube political streamers talking about? Some bullshit drama. Now, I don't judge too harshly, though, because I stream for one reason mainly. There are many reasons that I stream, but there's one reason that I stream the most, and I'm upfront with it, and that's my amusement. Some people stream because they want money and it's their career. I'll happily take your money. I will. But that's not why I do this. I have a full-time job. Some people stream because they need a community and they're trying to make friends. I'm very happy with the community we have here, but that's not why I streamed. I streamed probably more hours when it was only 2 or 3 people watching me for a year. And it was people that I didn't know or really having a relationship with, as far as being friends. I stream for my amusement. It's fun. It's like playing a game for me. It's not a game. I'm talking about real issues that I'm very passionate about, that I think are important. But the moment it becomes non-fun to me, then I'm done. That's why I make decisions like I don't feel like doing panels sometimes. Sometimes I do feel like doing panels. What's the deciding factor? Whether I think I'll enjoy it or not. That's it. It's like sometimes you eat pizza 2-3 times a week and you don't feel like pizza anymore. And other times you haven't had it for a month and you're like, yeah, I'll have some pizza. That's how I feel about some of these things. Panels or, So given that, because that's my primary reason for streaming, and I would assume the primary reason for most of the people watching stream is they find it enjoyable. I don't begrudge if that's what streamers want to do. They want to talk about this drama and the relationships and that viewers want to see it. I listen, my favorite band is Ween. Most people think they're shit, I watch chess videos. So I don't have any rights to criticize the type of content that people view, and I don't begrudge anyone. I think I've been pretty consistent. Even people I don't particularly like, that's fine. Their channel can take off. I don't care. Yeah, Ocean Man, great song. But so I'm not commenting on that sense of it, like, oh, well, these people, they're terrible people for covering this drama. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they're not that serious politically, and they never have been. When Trump was in office and hey, thanks so much, Old Gamer Mike, for the gifted subs. Really appreciate it, man. Really do. When Trump was in office and there was any sort of scandal or thing that was going bad with the country, oh boy, they were on that. But they can't wait to run from the Biden administration and all the negative stories because they can't defend it. It's the same reason they don't want to debate me. It's why Destiny doesn't want to debate me. It's why Vaush doesn't want to debate me. They can't defend it. So they deflect, they ignore, they engage in drama. And that's fine. Shit, if I put my eggs in the Biden basket and I saw how bad things were going, I'd probably be trying to ignore it too and find some other story. So I just think it's funny with all the shit going on. That's what they've elected to talk about. The other thing I'll say is this, just in general. I don't know any of these characters. They're out of my league as far as their reach, what's going on. Some of these people, people like Ethan Klein and Hassan and, Ms. Kip. Some of them I know a little, some I don't know hardly at all. I know what they do, though. I know what's going on. And they have their little community and, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people watching them. And it's a brand. It's like, it's the Twitch version. Hey, thanks so much, Sparky. I appreciate it, man. It's the online version of, Keeping Up with the Kardashians or, Jersey Shore. Is anyone surprised that there's a lot of allegations that these people are shitty people in real life? Is anyone shocked by that? If you put a microscope on every area of my life, I do shitty things. Not like that. I'm faithful to my wife. I haven't sexually harassed or assaulted anyone. Pretty benign. But I've said terrible things to people. I've argued with my wife. There's all sorts of things if you looked at my life with a microscope, and I'm sure it's true of anyone. But even if you start off with good intentions, once you're talking about, making a career where you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month based on people watching you and drama and shit like that, you're probably going to do some crappy things. It's probably going to go to your head. Yeah, I mean, e-celebs. I don't know. So, I don't know, but as far as the specific allegations, I don't know shit. I don't know the characters. I can't judge. In general, I'm an innocent until proven guilty person. But when you're deciding who to watch or who to subscribe to or who to send money to, I guess it's a little different. Maybe the allegation alone is enough to get people to stop watching. Yeah, I know, right? I'm not colluding with gambling sites to bankrupt my supporters. I'm not trying to have hookups with people on Discord. I'm not meeting up with, female fans, trying to use my clout, to hook up with people and shit like that. I basically keep to myself. So, whatever. Of course that's what Destiny's doing. Can't defend the politics. I mean, can you blame Destiny? Here's the thing, right? And you could believe me or not, but I'll tell you this is the truth. When Trump was in office in 2020, especially in March of 2020, when I was just going ballistic on him because he was embracing lockdowns, and he said that Newsom and Cuomo were the best governors, and we needed to lock down more. And I was already pissed at him for, he was signing these massive spending bills, and he had bombed Syria. Now, I still supported Trump. After some of that, I volunteered for Trump's campaign. I still wanted Trump to win. Still am a Trump supporter. But he certainly did things that were warranted criticism. And I criticized heavily, and I lost followers for it. I had person after person reach out to me and say, Rob, I'm sort of a conservative streamer, and I want to say the things you're saying, but I can't because I'm afraid I'll lose subscribers. There is a freedom in being, you remember at the end of Rocky V, right? Where he punches the shitty, Don King type guy, and he's like, I'll sue you. And Rocky's like, for what? Because he's broke. He's like, whatever. I don't got shit. Sue me. I don't care. That's sort of the mentality I have, where it's like, I make enough money to keep on my channel just to put back into my channel. That's it. And I'm very thankful for it. But if I lost my channel tomorrow, if I, for whatever reason, I couldn't stream anymore, my computers blew up, and I just never got back into it, I would financially be about where I'm at now. If it was putting bread on the table for my kid, maybe your decision's different. And so if you're these big streamers, maybe you're like, hey, I want to cover, I don't think Biden's doing so well. But I'll lose viewers and I'll lose money if I do that. But if I talk about this Twitch drama, oh boy, my viewership, increases by 50%. That's what I'll talk about again. Yeah, I'm at work. Well, yeah, they'll be interested when Republicans take over. That's absolutely true, Aftershock, because that's what their audience will want to hear then. There's nothing good that their audience wants to hear right now. There's nothing good that they could defend. And they're equally as biased. Well, it's part of it's for views, but part of it's because they're, even if they could, let me put it this way, if they could get twice as many views saying that Biden was a shithead, they still wouldn't do it because their ideology trumps their viewership in that sense. But if it came to having a debate with me trying to defend Biden and getting 1,000 viewers and not looking good, or talking about this drama and getting 4,000 viewers, they're going to talk about the drama. Now, once Trump's in office, once Republicans win, they'll have more views complaining about Republicans, And they'll have more stuff to talk about. Yeah, he's smart enough. I agree. He's smart enough to know what he's doing. He don't want to debate me. He'll moderate for Pisco to be a 2-on-1 debating me about Hillary's emails. And then he'll debate other people on Mar-a-Lago or Hillary's emails. But he don't want to debate me. He knows. Whatever. Now, as far as... issues we're talking about. I don't know. Tomorrow, after this debate, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. There's so much to talk about, and I could spend hours on any one of these topics. Maybe we'll talk about Russia and the Nord Stream pipeline and sort of the conflict escalating. Maybe we'll talk about COVID. Maybe we'll talk about the FBI being brown shirts going after people. It's sort of all collapsing very fast now, right? What's up with the Nord Stream pipeline? It appears as if it's all but confirmed that it was attacked, and that stopped the pipeline from functioning, which will cause an environmental disaster. If this was an attack by the United States, which seems likely given the rhetoric of the United States leading up to it, it could literally be considered a direct act of war and get us in a direct conflict with Russia. The lie, again, it's not just the speed of the corruption and how fast it's coming out, but it's the brazenness of it. That's what's really amazing. It's Joe Biden going on TV saying, "Yeah, best economy ever." What? I mean, it's incredible. It's Biden repeatedly saying gas is under $3 a gallon in many states. No, it's not. Estimates are anywhere between $700 billion to over $1 trillion of Biden's proposed executive order on student loan forgiveness. Does anyone remember what the justification was? Now, he wanted to forgive student loans. That's this because he's trying to buy votes, right? That's what's going on. But what was the justification they used for this emergency action? What was the emergencies? Anyone remember? What did Biden do? No, it wasn't 9/11. That's funny. No. No, it wasn't 9/11. The emergency was, there was a state of emergency, basically, they declared, which said that there were financial hardships. Yeah, an emergency act, right. But there was financial hardships, that's right, Vita, because of COVID. The same way that they've siphoned and had this huge transfer of wealth over and over again. So at the same time that they're now suggesting costing the taxpayers $700 billion to over $1 trillion, depending on the estimates, because COVID is such an emergency, Joe Biden goes on 60 Minutes and says the pandemic's over. Okay, if the pandemic's over, why do we need this emergency bill? $700 billion. Why did Pelosi come out and sign off that we need to extend, because of the pandemic, voting remotely for members of the House? Why are we still saying that we need to have mail-in voting on a mass scale occurring up to a month before the election? If the emergency's over, they don't even pretend anymore. This was always the case with COVID, and I warned about it day one. In fact, I warned about it probably as early as anyone. I'm not going to claim to be the very first, but I was on it in March. As soon as Trump started, they were like 15 days to slow the spread. I was like, disaster. Right out of the gate, I was saying it. You go back and watch my videos from 2020. I said, I don't know how many times, if I said it once, I've said it 100 times. By allowing the government to restrict your rights without them even answering basic questions such as what is the threshold that has been met that justifies them restricting these rights? How will the restrictions of the rights help solve the particular thing, COVID in this case? In what ways will it harm other things? Are there any other potential solutions that are less restrictive? And I said, if the government doesn't answer these questions, and you don't know what the threshold is for when they could take your rights away, what's the threshold for when you could get your rights back? And I said, there are 3 things with COVID that could damage this country. The first is the COVID disease itself. And I have no idea how many it could kill. It could kill 1,000, it could kill 1,000,000. But our country will overcome that. The second thing is the cost associated with what we do fighting COVID. And I predicted it would be much worse. It would be worse economically. It would be worse for the mental health of this country. It would be worse by exacerbating other diseases and illnesses. All of that's come true. And I said that will end up in the long run costing more lives and harming more people than COVID itself. But even that we could overcome as a country. But the third thing had the potential to completely destroy our country. And that is if we set the precedent that the government is allowed to declare an emergency like this anytime they want, based on an unknown fear, and restrict people's rights so bad. And yes, I understand this has happened with the Patriot Act and in other ways, but literally telling people things like you can't go to church, you can't go visit your parents, you can't have a wedding, you can't have a funeral, your kid can't go to school. If we accept that level of restriction, then the government will use that any time that they want to put their boot on our throat, which will be perpetually. And that's exactly what we're seeing. I said I was saying this in March. I was arguing with Trump supporters. I was arguing with constitutional conservatives. Maybe we'll go over this. I was writing on the blog Above Top Secret with constitutional conservatives. I was like, well, how many people are going to die of COVID? 2.2 million? Well, that's chump change compared to climate change. Wait until you see how they restrict you over climate change. No, said these Trump supporters. 15 days to slow the spread. We knew you weren't a Trump supporter. We know you were secretly a Democrat, they said to me. Now where are they? Now there's it's gotten so bad that literally in the same day, they could say, oh my God, there's an emergency, there's a pandemic. Therefore, we're justified in spending hundreds of billions of dollars because of this emergency. And we have to continue to change the way we vote. It's an emergency. It's so bad. To literally that evening, Joe Biden could go on television and go, pandemic's over. It's over. And then the next day they could go, oh, no, the pandemic's still here. You have to wear your mask. Wear your mask here. Oh, I'm not wearing my mask. Yeah, the pandemic's over here. Oh, the vaccine, it's the best thing ever. It stops the disease until we say it doesn't, and then it doesn't stop the disease. They just pick and choose whenever they feel like. If it benefits them to open you up because it helps them with the election and they can say, look, we're doing good, that's what they'll do. If 5 minutes later they're like, oh, we need to restrict you to help us politically in power, to consolidate power again, then they'll do that. Then they'll the next day say, never mind, it's lifted again. And regardless of what you think, you might think, well, were there problems with the election and stuff like that? I can't talk about that stuff. I'm on YouTube. It doesn't matter, though. Because even if you believe that stuff, understand this. Millions upon millions upon millions of people will believe anything the government tells them, as long as the undesirables disagree. What did the FBI know about January 6th beforehand? I put a tweet up. I said, when we find out that the FBI was embedded in groups that were there January 6th, which we will find out. And not only that, but they actively, just like with the Whitmer thing, actively encouraged law-breaking, most Democrats will say, so what, MAGA people are still evil. They won't care. They haven't even thought through the ramifications of what that means. If I was there January 6th and someone said, Rob, punch that police officer in the face, and I did it, and it turns out the person who told me that was an FBI agent, does that exonerate me? No. I still did something immoral and criminal. Now, there are questions of if you're defending yourself. But let's assume that's not the case. If an FBI agent told me to punch someone and I did, what I did was still immoral. There might be loopholes to get out of it because I was entrapped. But still, what I did was immoral. But the greater crime is who facilitated the beginning of the lawbreaking. And if it's the FBI, it's strange saying this, I've said this a lot, but probably even surpasses the Russia collusion scandal as the most corrupt thing the FBI has ever done, given the ramifications of how we're basically becoming a police state, and the FBI is now exclusively targeting Trump supporters and conservatives. If this started based on an event that the FBI themselves created, the ramifications of that are insane. And yet no one on the left seems to care. Most of them aren't even arguing anymore that the FBI wasn't embedded. They're like, yeah, so what? Because they know that clearly the FBI was embedded. In fact, in this Oath Keeper trial that's going up, they've already said that they had people embedded with the Oath Keepers before January 6th. We'll find out. You could tell by the reaction. Well, who was the congressperson the other day about Ray Epps? Why is Ray Epps the only person that Democrats don't want investigated in charge for January 6th? If you're a grandma that took a picture holding a flag, oh boy, lock her up and throw away the key. But if you're the guy actually telling people to break the law and commit violence, leave the poor man alone, said that Congress. Just leave the poor man alone. If you haven't seen that audio clip, it's incredible. Leave him alone, please, say the Democrats. And Scott Adams said it best. I'm willing to hear the defense that the FBI wasn't there, but at this point, everything we've seen and their silence, and the Democrats defending people such as Ray Epps that were actually calling for violence, the burden of proof is now shifted. So most people on the left, they're not even arguing, nah, the FBI wasn't there. They're just like, yeah, so what? They don't even ask the most fundamental question. Even if you could say, even if you're a lefty and you're like, well, so what? The FBI encouraged them to do it and then they did it and whatever. They deserve it. They still did it. They're still terrorists. Even if you could somehow believe that. Here's a fundamental question. If the FBI was telling people to riot and was embedded with groups that they believed were going to riot, why didn't they contact anyone at the Capitol Police or the National Guard or in Congress or in the Trump administration and say, hey, you should have adequate security. We're encouraging people to riot. Even if they weren't encouraging, if they just were embedded in groups and suspected that violence was going to occur, what good is the FBI if they knew that violence was about to occur because they were embedded with groups and yet said nothing? Would almost be like the Pam Geller situation, right? Where they encouraged an Islamic person to become radicalized to show up to an event, and then he started shooting, and the FBI went, oh shit, and they ran away. Do I still support Trump? Yes and no. Yeah, I would say yeah. But I think he's done a lot that was terrible, and he's going to pay the price. He will go to jail. He will be charged with a crime. And that's on him to an extent, because he did not drain the swamp. Instead, he trusted people from the swamp around him, which protected the swamp, and that will be his downfall. But he's still the best president we've had in my life for exposing the corruption. And just like every instance of corruption that I've called out and been right for years, have been right on it. First, there's a denial. You know, I got the receipts. I could show you. October 2017, I wrote a big write-up. If the FBI used unverified opposition research to spy on Trump's campaign, it is the biggest political scandal in the history of the country, is what I wrote. The response I got from people on the left was, there's no way the FBI would do that. Bullshit. You don't have any proof. No way. The FBI verifies information before they use it to get a FISA warrant, especially if they're going to spy on a president. So if they probably didn't use the Steele dossier, and even if they did, it's because they, crossed all the T's and dotted the I's. Now, what that is an implicit acknowledgement. The reason they're so certain is because they understand how corrupt it would be if they didn't. So they're like, oh, surely. It'd be like if you said, those cops planted those drugs on that person. Now they wouldn't do that. That's bullshit. What you're implicitly saying is, that would be so corrupt, I just refuse to believe it without evidence. But then if the evidence comes, you've already admitted it was corrupt. So is that what the left-wingers did and said, oh my God, Rob, you were right. My God, they did do this. No, they just said, oh, of course they did that. That was justified. Yep. I mean, the allegation was so bad. Trump could have been a spy for Putin. So we had to do this. It's no big deal. And it's not just stupid, random lefties. It's people that should know better. Many of these lefties I was talking to, very smart people. How about Pisco? He's a lawyer. What's Pisco's take on this? Corruption of the highest magnitude at the FBI. He goes, yeah, I guess they should have fired people. What more do you want done now? First they say it's impossible that it could have happened. Then once it's proven it happened, they say, well, of course it happened. It's not that big of a deal, and it was necessary. That's exactly what they'll do. If it turns out that the FBI was aware of, was embedded with groups, or encouraged lawlessness on January 6th. And they'll say, so what? So what? Trump supporters are still evil. Trump still incited it. So what? And the easiest counter to that argument is, even if you believe that, why didn't they contact Capitol Police? Why didn't they contact the Sergeant at Arms? Why didn't they contact Nancy Pelosi? I understand they'll say, well, they couldn't contact Trump because they thought Trump was involved. Right, because the FBI is corrupt. But what about those other organizations that were responsible for security? Remember, the only person we know that requested additional security there was Trump himself, who wanted the National Guard there. That was denied. It's almost like the FBI and the Democrats wanted violence to occur. That's almost what it looks like, right? But why would they want violence to occur? Now, I've been told over and over that, oh my God, this was a threat to our democracy, that it was an insurrection. My God, it hampered Joe Biden in unprecedented ways. Meanwhile, Biden, or more accurately, the people that are running his administration, have acted as strongmen ever since. Mobilize the National Guard. Weaponize the FBI. Censor people that disagree with us. Why wouldn't the FBI want to stop that? If they really thought that this was an insurrection that was about to go down. Why wouldn't the FBI say, well, wait a minute, we need to make sure that there's adequate security to prevent this? Why wouldn't they do that? They set dominoes up over and over and over and over for Trump and Trump supporters. That's what happens when the establishment has won so bad that they control almost every institution. Riots occur daily after the George Floyd thing, which was inevitable. Not George Floyd, that situation, but in a country with millions of law enforcement and everyone walking around with a camera, inevitably you'll find an outrageous example of a miscarriage of justice. So all you got to do is have your sycophantic media propagandists blare it everywhere, gin up enough anger, and everything falls into place. Then you have governors and mayors back police off, allow the riots to occur. You have the media say, oh, they're all justified. It's mostly peaceful. Even as fires rage behind them. Thanks so much, Miss Galot. Really appreciate it. It's true. Trump didn't prevent a domino. He did prevent some, but not much. You're barking up the wrong tree if you expect me to defend everything Trump did. All of these riots were occurring. Mayors wouldn't do anything. Governors wouldn't do anything. And I told you, this is a true story. I had a friend of mine contact me, who's a mutual friend with a lot of, he's left-leaning, he's center-left, but a lot of my friends are very left-leaning. And my friend contacted me and said that our farther left friends had contacted him because they'd seen one of my videos and said, Rob's an extremist, we can no longer associate with him. You want to know what my video was? That finally put them over the edge that I was an extremist? It was saying that Trump should deploy the National Guard to stop the rioting. Now, if you went back and you watched that video, this is what I said. I said, I'm very hesitant to say this. The civil libertarian in me thinks that that's very problematic, to have a branch of the military operating as a domestic police force. I'm not the one who wanted the National Guard deployed. You know who wanted the National Guard deployed? Cuomo, Pelosi, Schumer, Feinstein, Biden, the propaganda media. They set the dominoes up. And then they're like, okay, Trump will take the bait. He'll deploy, which he still should have, deploy the National Guard. And then they could say, see, he's a fascist. See, there it is, fascist. There it is, he's a fascist. He deployed the military in our street. Oh my God. And that's all you would have heard. 24/7 coverage. You would have had people, this is worse than Watergate. My God, Trump's a strong man. We need to impeach him immediately. He's deployed the military against American citizens. Get him out. That's what they were doing. They also knew that through this double standard of justice and allowing riots on one side, and I said this over and over, that inevitably the other side would say, okay, we'll engage in those tactics. And when they do, when the right riots, they will bring the hammer down like you can't believe. And that's exactly what happened. See, people talk about false flags and things like that. And of course it could happen. Thanks, Brent. What's happening, man? Thanks for being here. But people, an individual might be unpredictable, but as a whole, people are pretty predictable. It's why advertising works. It's why propaganda works. And when you set the dominoes up, will encourage and facilitate one side rioting over and over and over and over and over again. Inevitably, you know, by creating that powder keg, that someone's going to do something on the other side. And when it happens, you say, see? I'll give you another example. They're setting the precedent that you could go outside of a judge's house and protest, even after an assassination attempt. That's what they did with Kavanaugh. And inevitably, the right will do this. They'll go outside of some justice's or some judge's home, and there'll be some allegation of a threat against that judge, and the left will go nuts. There'll be FBI raids. There'll be censorship online. They'll be cracking down. You can't, now they'll say Republicans that criticize justices or judges or judicial decisions are terrorists. Because they know when you allow one side to do it with impunity over and over, inevitably the other side, and that's what they're hoping for now. When they charge Trump, what they're hoping is, and they are going to charge Trump. And they're going to keep escalating it until they get the reaction. Then when someone does something shitty in reaction, they'll say, see, we were right. See, they're all terrorists. That's the plan. That's how they set up these dominoes. Thanks, Gizmo. By the way, sorry I didn't respond to your text. I was having a crazy week. But yeah, Hank's doing fine. Thank you so much, Gizmo. Appreciate the sub. And then when you add on top of that, the FBI goading people, individuals, specific individuals, like with the Whitmer situation, and most likely what we're going to find out happened on January 6th, every ideology, every politician probably's got some wackos that follow them. If the FBI could radicalize and target a few of those wackos, and like Aftershock saying that, and we have this culture war situation that's pushing them in one direction. You could do that with Bernie supporters. You could do it with Trump supporters. You could do it with Hillary supporters. And it happens with them. We see violent lefties. It's ignored by our propagandist media. Because the establishment left won the culture wars. And so they pick and choose which stories become important. And we could whine and gnash our teeth and say, what about this Trump-supporting teenager, or this alleged conservative teenager that someone ran over and killed and told the police it was because he was a Republican extremist? And they let him out. He's not even on house arrest. The video from him saying, I have a house and stuff, it's unbelievable. It's sickening. This guy just murdered a kid for political reasons. And at his bail hearing, he's like, well, let's be reasonable. I have a house. I need to get home. Oh, yes, of course, sir. Sorry to inconvenience you. After all, you're just doing what Biden wanted. If one abortion center was firebombed like all these pro-lifes, it'd be the #1 story in the news. Merrick Garland would be on TV saying, we're getting to the bottom of it. But when it's the other way, oh well. Where's the Republican governor of, where was this kid that was killed? North Dakota? Well, we don't get involved, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's up to the local attorneys. The Martha's Vineyard situation. They successfully turned the narrative to, oh my God, DeSantis is a monster, he's a human trafficker. Never mind that Biden's done that dozens upon dozens of times, shipped airplanes in the middle of the night with illegals to places like Florida. Right, that is how extremists are made. And that's what they want. They want the reaction. Then they could crack down more. Thanks for the follow. Then come next year when you start to say, wait a minute, Why did I lose my small business? Why was I unable to have a funeral for my mother? Why did my child lose their senior year of high school? They'll say, shut up. You're an extremist. You're just like the person that did X that was heinous. January 6th. Or whatever the new situation will be. And if you doubt how effective this propaganda is, remember, the people that were most vocally against our intel agencies and our neocon warmongers when Bush was in office are now actively cheering for increasing escalations against a nuclear armed superpower in Russia. Well, that's absolutely true, Aftershock. I've said this, I'm not black-pilled, but I'm also not white-pilled. There is no guarantee that we win in this life. All great countries collapse eventually. But you still have your family, you still have those things to still have a happy life. And it's never complete. The pendulum's always swinging one way or another. So there's always reason to fight back. I don't mean with violence or corruption, but with truth. There's culture, right? But we may lose. We may be entering a dark period of 30 years. And they'll never admit, the people that have cheered this on, the people that said that children should be forced to take a vaccine and should be locked down from schools, no amount of science will ever make them admit that they made the wrong decision, the majority of them. They won't admit it. They'll double down. I debate an expert on the economy like Econoboy. I say, oh boy, the lockdowns and the massive printing of money, it's going to cause inflation, it's going to cause economic devastation. He's in his words, well respected in the field of economics. He said no. He said by the end of the year, inflation won't be a problem. The economy will be back on the upswing. How's that looking? Do you think they'll say, you know what, maybe these massive spending policies and lockdowns and things like that, maybe that was a disaster? You think that's what they'll say? They'll say, no. Just listen to me and more control for me and the people like me. That's the problem. You didn't give us enough control. They'll blame capitalism. The government shutting down small businesses. They'll say, the problem is it's you. It's you, the consumer. Stop whining. This is one of the greatest economic growths ever. It's your fault if you're struggling. Now shut up and lock down again when we tell you it's necessary. I don't know what the percentage is, 50%, 60% of Democrat voters are gone. They would actively cheer for the destruction of this country if it meant losing political power. There is no salvaging them. You can't through, oh my God, your side won. And 8 years of power nonstop they could have. And look how bad things have gotten economically. They said that they were going to do policies to help the homeless, but they made homelessness worse. They said they were going to do policies to help crime, but crime's got way worse. They said they would do policies to help poor people, but poor people have gotten far worse off. They said that they were going to do things to help the border, but the border's gotten worse. And they're not going to be like, oh yeah, I guess we made the wrong decision. They're going to say, no, the problem was we didn't do enough. Democrats could win every national election for the next 40 years. And if problems were bad 40 years from now, Democrat voters would be saying, it's because Trump supporters, MAGA, Republicans, that's the problem. And you'd say, but you've had power for 40 years. Yeah, well, they didn't do enough. They didn't go far enough. Oh, I agree, repent. Whether it be religion, whether it be faith in yourself, your family, your loved ones. But what do I know? What's Mizkiv up to? What's XQC up to? Right? Right? How's left-wing Twitch doing? It's not doom or pill, though. Listen. There are ways to prepare yourself. Balkanize. Get out of the cities. Find a community with like-minded individuals. I live in one. I live in a community when the economic downturn hits, people will take care of each other. I have family and friends. I have enjoyment without lots of money. Now, if you're starving, that's different, obviously. But I'm less likely to be in that position because of where I live. Eventually, all things change. And there's this sort of accelerationism that now occurs. If you look at the ages, right? The agricultural age, the Iron Age, the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, the Steel Age, the Dark Ages, the Enlightenment, Industrial Revolution, the Space Age, the Computer Age. We're evolving, and I don't mean evolve like Darwin evolution. I mean socially we're evolving at an exponential pace. Massive changes that used to take thousands of years are now occurring within a couple generations, within your lifetime. Wars are faster. The pendulum will swing the other way. Will it be soon? I don't know. In some ways it is swinging back. Sometimes I'm optimistic, sometimes not. But things always look the worst before that pendulum swing. That great changes and great sort of cultural revolutions, particularly against corruption, it almost never starts with the first wave. People come up, they speak against it. Then they're persecuted. And then more people come up, and they're persecuted. And somewhere along the third or fourth or fifth wave even, there starts to be a groundswell of support. And things start to swing back the other way. But it's not going to be easy. That's when people ask me, can we solve it with this next election? No. These cultural Marxists, these establishment types, have infiltrated, for example, our culture, our entertainment industry, our academic industries for generations. That's how long it'll take to root all of this out. I disagree, Aftershock. I think it's hubris to say things are so different now. Things are accelerating. But I don't think it's that different. And then, if you want to take solace in this, the very people on the left that cheer for your misery and that are mass reporting you because they want you censored and they want you to lose your kids and they want you to lose your job and they want you to go to jail, eventually the system will take them. It will. If we lose, that's the irony, right? The irony is, if my side wins, those shithead people will end up better off. But if my side loses, those people are going to pay the price. And I have to admit, sometimes that brings a smile to my face. I'm happy. I have a son. I have a great wife. Everything will be okay for me and my family until it's not. Have faith in more than politics. Have faith in more than any one person. Whether that be religion, whether that be your family, whether that be yourself. If you're putting your faith in a politician like Trump or DeSantis, you're making a mistake. That doesn't mean you can't advocate for them and think that they'll incrementally make things better. But humans will always let you down. I'll let you down. So you got to have faith in something greater. But it's no reason to get depressed. I've said it a million times. I'm the type of person that likes to have my back against the wall. I like being the underdog. So I'm fine. I'm going to keep fighting. And, I got a small platform. But, it's what I do. So, all right. I'm going to head out. I got some work to take care of here. You have faith in your fishing skills. Yeah. Rick Astley never let you down. Yeah. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, I will be debating a half-hour debate with someone named Justin Freakin on the FBI. We'll see how it goes. Probably be somewhat of a shit show. It's only half an hour, so I'll have to... There's so much, as you all know, there's so much I can talk about. Double standards and corruption at the FBI, so I have to pare that down to 2 or 3 things to be able to deal with it in a half an hour. But hopefully you'll enjoy that debate, and then I'll probably stick around for an hour or two, and we'll take some calls. I'll be at home, so I'll be on video, and yeah. So, let's see if there's anyone to raid. Thank you again. If you're tuned in late, I just want to say that the reason I have been streaming, my son Hank broke his leg. I am going to start streaming more regularly. I'm going to start here next week trying to put short form videos up on comfy.stream and on Rumble, and I guess YouTube too. But YouTube can kiss my ass basically. But that's the plan. Let's see. Who are we going to raid? Lecture fans on. Ah, shit. It's been a while. How do I raid? Oh, there we go. I got it. I forgot what the little code was. I got it. I think. Also here, I will be going all in on these Pennsylvania elections in the next week or two. Doing everything I can to push Dr. Oz and Doug Mastriano over the finish line. So, Lecture fan just logged off. Shit. How do I cancel a raid? Cancel the raid. Alright, well then. The Crucible's on. Let's do that. We got a debate going on, so... Alright, enjoy this raid of the Crucible. Again, sorry that I wasn't around. Thank you. I appreciate the well wishes for Hank. Apologize while I'm at work here. My camera doesn't run, so... But you guys are the best. I really appreciate all of your support. Thank you so much. And as always, have a good one.